So going through fertility struggles can be a roller coaster of emotions, and too often those experiencing it suffer in silence. Well, local fertility doctor Lora Shahine has spent her career opening up this conversation and busting misconceptions about miscarriages and fertility. She recently talked to me about her brand new podcast.
The podcast just launched very recently. It's called Baby or Bust. And it's a different way of educating. You know, I am personally a huge fan of podcasts. I just throw in my earphones and fold my laundry or drive or whatever, and I'm constantly learning. And it's a wonderful way of connecting with people, sharing stories, and educating, without lecturing at someone.
Right. No, and that's such a good point. It's more of a conversation. I love podcasts for the same reason, because you feel like that you can really get into it. Lately, thank goodness, more celebrities and women in the spotlight are talking about their pregnancy loss and their struggles. Do you think the tide is turning? Do you think this is something that we can start just being more open about?
Oh, yes, I think so. I think that's a great question. And I'm seeing that too. I would like for people to not normalize, as in not validate the grief and the loss, but just be able to share and get it out of the shadows, because it is so much more common than we realize. And when we share, we feel less alone. We feel less like we're the only ones that this has happened to. And I think it can only be helpful.
Yeah. You mentioned that a lot of people feel alone, but how common is pregnancy loss?
1 in 4 clinically recognized pregnancies end in miscarriage.
Wow.
So a lot of people are going to experience it. And I think that there's a real chance it might even be more than that, because I don't think people always report it to their doctors and, their friends. And it's just so much more common than we really think.
The name of the podcast is Baby or Bust.
Catchy.
I like it. I love it. But you not only share advice from medical experts, which I think is fascinating, but it also talks about the feelings involved, the incredible loss, the journey that couples go through when it comes to infertility. Why was it important to include this?
Absolutely. It's the name is trying to kind of capture that feeling that when you are trying to start or complete your family, it really feels all encompassing. You kind of can see pregnant bellies everywhere. You see a TV show and there's a pregnancy announcement. Facebook is just yelling at you, gender reveal parties. And it really feels like that is the kind of the center of what you're doing. And so it's that kind of feeling of completing your family or oh my gosh, what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And we really try to mix, having experts in the field come on with sort of regular people or infertility, warriors or people that can share. And what I like and have found is even the experts, they have their own personal things to share. Everyone has been touched by this, whether it's caring for patients, family members, their personal stories. And it's just been an incredible experience.
I think there are so many things that people say that we need to educate others on. I mean, I myself has probably said things to friends of mine. I've had things said to me about pregnancy loss, miscarriages. One thing I've heard before is when someone has a miscarriage, someone has said, well, at least you can get pregnant. How is that damaging when you hear things like that?
Anything that starts off with at least ends up being a little dismissive. Sort of not validating that loss that you had. At least you can get pregnant. It sounds positive. It sounds like, oh, well, this is great. Think about all those hurdles, fertilization, implantation, you can get pregnant, and no, maybe the next time it's going to be fine. And maybe that's true. And the person that's saying that, I think, really is trying to be helpful. But sometimes the person that's receiving that statement sort of thinks like, well, does that mean that this pain that I'm going through isn't important, or, because it's not just the physical healing, it's, missing out on what you envisioned. You have a positive pregnancy test and immediately you're thinking like due date, if you're trying to add to your family, how far the siblings are going to be apart. It's a lot of feelings.
Yeah, you start going down that path, and then to have it so abruptly taken it's devastating. I am so glad that you're doing this podcast. Where can people find Baby or Bust?
Honestly, anywhere, like Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can really find it wherever you're listening to your podcasts. And I'm really excited for people to listen.
So awesome. Thanks to Dr. Shahine for telling us about that.